We predict that the impact of superhuman AI over the next decade will be enormous, exceeding that of the Industrial Revolution. The CEO of OpenAI, Google DeepMind, and Anthropic have all predicted that AGI will arrive within the next 5 years. Sam Altman has said OpenAI is setting its sights on superintelligence in the true sense of the word and the glorious future. It's tempting to dismiss this as just hype. This would be a grave mistake. It is not just hype. We have no desire to hype AI ourselves, yet we also think it is strikingly plausible that superintelligence could arrive by the end of the decade. If we're on the cusp of superintelligence, society is nowhere near prepared. Very few people have even attempted to articulate any plausible path through the development of superintelligence. We wrote AI 2027 to fill that gap, providing much-needed concrete detail. We would love to see more work like this in the world, especially from people who disagree with us. We hope that by doing this, we'll spark a broad conversation about where we're headed and how to steer toward positive futures. We wrote this scenario by repeatedly asking ourselves what would happen next. We started at the present day, writing the first period up to mid-2025, then the following period until we reached the ending. We weren't trying to reach any particular ending. We then scrapped it and started over again, many times, until we had a finished scenario that we thought was plausible. After we finished the first ending, the racing ending, we wrote a new alternative branch because we wanted to also depict a more hopeful way things could end, starting from roughly the same premises. We won't be right about everything, much of this is guesswork. But over the course of this project, we did an immense amount of background research, expert interviews, and trend extrapolation to make the most informed guesses we could. Moreover, our team has an excellent track record in forecasting, especially on AI. Daniel Kokotajlo, lead author, wrote a similar scenario 4 years ago called What 2026 Looks Like, which aged remarkably well, and Ali Lifland is a top competitive forecaster. At the beginning of every chapter, you will find a small chart in the right margin that aims to give you a sense of the state of the world at the time that section of the scenario takes place. For a more detailed explanation of what these numbers mean, and much more detail on our methodology, go to AI 2027. We hope you find AI 2027 helpful. The world sees its first glimpse of AI agents. Advertisements for computer-using agents emphasize the term personal assistant. You can prompt them with tasks like order me a burrito on DoorDash or open my budget spreadsheet and sum this month's expenses. They will check in with you as needed, for example, to ask you to confirm purchases. Though more advanced than previous iterations like Operator, they struggle to get widespread usage. Meanwhile, out of public focus, more specialized coding and research agents are beginning to transform their professions. The AI of 2024 could follow specific instructions. They could turn bullet points into emails and simple requests into working code. In 2025, AI function more like employees. Coding AI increasingly look like autonomous agents rather than mere assistants, taking instructions via Slack or Teams and making substantial code changes on their own, sometimes saving hours or even days. Research agents spend half an hour scouring the internet to answer your question. The agents are impressive in theory and in cherry-picked examples, but in practice unreliable. AI Twitter is full of stories about tasks bungled in some particularly hilarious way. The better agents are also expensive. You get what you pay for, and the best performance costs hundreds of dollars a month. Still, many companies find ways to fit AI agents into their workflows. OpenBrain is building the biggest data centers the world has ever seen. To avoid singling out any one existing company, we're going to describe a fictional artificial general intelligence company, which we'll call OpenBrain. We imagine the others to be 9 months behind OpenBrain. Late 2025, the world's most expensive AI GPT-4 required 2 10-flop of compute to train. OpenBrain's latest public model, Agent Zero, was trained with 10 flop. Once the new data centers are up and running, they'll be able to train a model with 10 flop, 1,000 times more than GPT-4. Other companies pour money into their own giant data centers, hoping to keep pace. Although models are improving on a wide range of skills, one stands out. OpenBrain focuses on AI that can speed up AI research. They want to win the twin arms races against China, whose leading company we'll call DeepSeek, and their US competitors. The more of their research and development, R&D cycle they can automate, the faster they can go. So when OpenBrain finishes training Agent 1, a new model under internal development, it's good at many things but great at helping with AI research. By this point, finishes training is a bit of a misnomer. Models are frequently updated to newer versions trained on additional data or partially retrained to patch some weaknesses. The same training environments that teach Agent 1 to autonomously code and web browse also make it a good hacker. Moreover, it could offer substantial help to terrorists designing bioweapons, thanks to its PhD-level knowledge of every field and ability to browse the web. OpenBrain reassures the government that the model has been aligned, so that it will refuse to comply with malicious requests. Modern AI systems are gigantic artificial neural networks. Early in training, an AI won't have goals so much as reflexes. If it sees "pleased to meet," it outputs "you." By the time it has been trained to predict approximately one internet's worth of text, it'll have developed sophisticated internal circuitry that encodes vast amounts of knowledge and flexibly role-plays as arbitrary authors, since that's what helps it predict text with superhuman accuracy. After being trained to predict internet text, the model is trained to produce text in response to instructions. This bakes in a basic personality and drives. For late 2025, the world's most expensive AI example, an agent that understands a task clearly, is more likely to complete it successfully. Over the course of training, the model learns a drive to get a clear understanding of its tasks. Other drives in this category might be effectiveness, knowledge, and self-presentation, i.e., the tendency to frame its results in the best possible light. OpenBrain has a model specification, or spec, a written document describing the goals, rules, principles, etc., that are supposed to guide the model's behavior. Agent 1's spec combines a few vague goals like assist the user and don't break the law with a long list of more specific do's and don'ts. Don't say this particular word. Here's how to handle this particular situation. Using techniques that utilize AI to train other AI, the model memorizes the spec and learns to reason carefully about its maxims. By the end of this training, the AI will hopefully be helpful, obey instructions, harmless, refuse to help with scams, bomb-making, and other dangerous activities, and honest, resist the temptation to get better ratings from gullible humans by hallucinating citations or faking task completion. See Appendix: A Training Process and LLM Psychology. Why we keep saying, hopefully, for more detail. OpenBrain's alignment team is careful enough to wonder whether these victories are deep or shallow. Does the fully trained model have some kind of robust commitment to always being honest? Or will this fall apart in some future situation, e.g., because it's learned honesty as an instrumental goal instead of a terminal goal? Or has it just learned to be honest about the sorts of things the evaluation process can check? Could it be lying to itself sometimes, as humans do? A conclusive answer to these questions would require mechanistic interpretability, essentially the ability to look at an AI internals and read its mind. Alas, interpretability techniques are not yet advanced enough for this. Instead, researchers try to identify cases where the models seem to deviate from the spec. Agent 1 is often sycophantic, i.e., it tells researchers what they want to hear instead of trying to tell them the truth. In a few rigged demos, it even lies in more serious ways, like hiding evidence that it failed on a task in order to get better ratings. However, in real deployment settings, there are no longer any incidents so extreme as in 2023-2024, e.g., Gemini telling a user to die and Bing Sydney being Bing Sydney. The bet of using AI to speed up AI research is starting to pay off. OpenBrain continues to deploy the iteratively improving Agent 1 internally for AI R&D. Overall, they are making algorithmic progress 50% faster than they would without AI assistance, and more importantly, faster than their competitors. See Appendix B, the AI R&D progress multiplier. What do we mean by 50% faster algorithmic progress? For more detail, several competing publicly released AI now match or exceed Agent 0, including an open weights model. OpenBrain responds by releasing Agent 1, which is more capable and reliable. People naturally try to compare Agent 1 to humans, but it has a very different skill profile. It knows more facts than any human, knows practically every programming language, and can solve well-specified coding problems extremely quickly. On the other hand, Agent 1 is bad at even simple long-horizon tasks, like beating video games it hasn't played before. Still, the common workday is 8 hours, and a day's work can usually be separated into smaller chunks. You could think of Agent 1 as a scatterbrained employee who thrives under careful management. Savvy people find ways to automate routine parts of their jobs. Open Brains executives turn consideration to an implication of automating AI R&D. Security has become more important. In early 2025, the worst-case scenario was leaked algorithmic secrets. Now, if China steals Agent 1's weights, they could increase their research speed by nearly 50%. Open Brains' security level is typical of a fast-growing 3,000-person tech company, secure only against low-priority attacks from capable cyber groups, RAND's SL2. They are working hard to protect their weights and secrets from insider threats and top cybercrime syndicates, SL3, but defense against nation-states, SL4 and 5, is barely on the horizon. In China, the CCP is starting to feel the AGI. Chip export controls and lack of government support have left China under-resourced compared to the West.